Hi baby, in this week's video we are going to be talking about how to expand your vulva's pleasure. A couple videos we talked about clitoral stimulation. Well, today's episode is going to be all about that G zone, or what you guys might know as the G spot. So maybe you're here to learn about your own body and your own vulva's pleasure, or maybe you landed yourself here trying to figure out how the hell to stimulate your partner's G spot. Let me just tell you, you came to the right place, babe, and I am so happy you are here. But before we dive into those 3 juicy techniques, I want to talk about the anatomy of arousal. And one thing that most people don't know is that women actually have the same amount of erectile tissue as men do. Half on the outside and then half on the inside. But a lot of the time it gets overlooked because it's obviously not as visually obvious as a man's penis. But the clitoral head, the shaft, and the legs are made up of erectile tissue. And when they get engorged and fill with blood, they become much more sensitive to touch, pressure, and just stimulation in general. Very similar to the man's penis. However, it's not just those 3 pieces that make up the erectile tissue. It's also the bulbs of vestibule too. Now, these are located in between the inner and the outer lip. So as a woman becomes aroused, these bulbs eventually start to swell and become engorged and filled with blood, pushing the inner and outer lip open to make this perfect little cushion for penetration, making it extremely pleasurable. When a woman's vulva becomes engorged and filled with blood, I always like to compare it to a flower, because all of the erectile tissue causes the pussy to become engorged and just filled with blood and blossom just like a flower. This is why foreplay is so important, because we don't want to penetrate anything without activating the network of erectile tissue. Getting the vulva fully erect or fully engorged and filled with blood is what differs from inserting a menstrual cup or a dry ass tampon. So a really good cue before we do any type of penetration is to make sure we're having that outer vulva erection. And then penetration alone will feel super pleasurable and hella orgasmic. So perhaps you might be having a painful penetration or a lot of irritation upon penetration. Maybe it could be you need to give your body more time to become aroused. After all, we are pleasing vulvas and we are pleasing women, and it just takes us a little bit longer to get there. But the key thing that we are going to be talking about in this video is actually the urethral sponge, other known as the G zone or the G spot. So when we stimulate the G zone or the G spot, where exactly are we going? Well, I want you to think about going about 2 knuckles deep, and you're going to insert up towards the belly button. This is the anterior wall. This is not only made up of erectile tissue, but it also has some glands here, also known as the Skene's glands. This is where that magical squirt juice comes from. And for those of you that don't know, squirt comes out when we are in an extreme state of relaxation and an extreme state of pleasure. All right, so now that we have a general idea of the anatomy of arousal, before we dive into my top 3 techniques on how to stimulate that G zone or that G spot, I have to tell you about Beducated's Black Friday sale, because you do not want to sleep on this, because it is a 60% off for the whole year. Now, for those of you that don't know, I absolutely love Beducated because they've taken sex education to a whole nother level. They literally are like me on steroids. They show you visuals, they give you demonstrations, they give you workbooks and classes and courses hosted by top sexperts across the world. Some of my favorite courses that I've taken has been the Handjob Mastery, the Roadmap to Intimacy, and obviously the G-Spot Bliss. And honestly, the only thing that I want for Christmas is better intimacy, better sex, and better connection. And I know you guys do too, or you would not be watching this video. So whether you're trying to get to know your body a little bit better, or you're trying to explore with your partner, Beducated is definitely meant for you. So my Black Friday gift to you is going to be 24-hour access for free into Beducated's website, so you can explore the courses that you want to dive deeper into. And let me just tell you, you are not just going to want to be there for 24 hours, because there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to get everything that you want out of that site. So when you guys figure out that you want want to stay a little bit longer, don't forget to click the link down below and use the code PleasureBaby to make sure that you get that 60% off for your Black Friday deal. We need to electrify that touch, amplify these sensations, and just get downright dirty and busy. So click that link down below, enter in the code PleasureBaby, and get your 24-hour free access into the website to go dive a little bit deeper into your pleasure. Give the gift of intimacy. Trust me, you will not regret it. Okay, so first things first, like I said, foreplay is extremely important before we go in and stimulate the G-zone, because we need to be stimulating that erectile tissue so that we can feel exactly what we are touching. So you at least have to be in a semi-aroused state. However, the more turned on you are, the easier it's going to be to find and the better the pleasure is going to be. Now, how do we stimulate it? Well, lucky for you guys, there's not a massive book on how to stimulate the G-spot, because let's be real, there's really only 3 techniques that get you good, and these are gonna be my top 3 techniques. So the first one is going to be, of course, the come hither motion. It is the most known one. It is super common, and fortunately, a lot of people actually really enjoy this one. So it's done with 2 fingers. If you want to do it with 1 finger, don't be afraid. Explore, adventure. You can always start with 1 and then move to 2 as you start to get aroused. So we're going to be inserting our fingers and pressing up on that G-spot or that urethral sponge. Now, this is not a super delicate area, so you actually can use quite a bit of pressure. Here, you are going to do this come here motion. So you are going to be pushing right into that urethral sponge or that G zone. Now, you can play with the speeds, you can play with the pressure, you can play with the tempo. The second one that I want to talk about is the suction. Now, this one is going to be a little bit loud, especially if you're doing it right. You should be able to hear it from across the room. Here for this one, your wrist is actually going to be locked out. So you're going to lock your wrist and you are going to be moving from your arm. I'm going to show you as if we're coming in from this way so that you can have an understanding, because you're pulling back like this and creating that suction on the G zone. So let's see if I can do it this way. So we'll flip it. Ooh, this is a little hard. So you would be pushing and releasing, pushing and releasing, pushing and releasing. But that suction is coming from the way it's cupping onto your fingers and onto that zone. And the more that we push that urethral sponge, the more it's going to secrete that liquid from the Skene's gland. And that's what's going to give it that deep suction sound, because it's just getting wetter and wetter and wetter. So what we are doing is we are press, release, press, release, press, release. Now, finally, the last motion, which is definitely one of my favorites, is the circle motion. This is one I actually like to start off with. So you're going to take those 2 fingers again, go inside, find the G zone, and you're going to run it in a circle. When you do this, the glands are slowly going to start to swell and become more and more and more engorged with those juicy glands, and you might even get the urge to pee with any of these ones. So I encourage you, if you get that urge that you need to pee, or your partner is saying, stop, 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 I feel like I need to pee, relax into that. Take a couple of breaths, don't stop. I actually want you to intensify that pace. Keep doing the same motion that you are doing, whether it's circle, whether it's suction, or whether it's come hither. Whatever feels best, keep doing it, just intensify it. As that intensity starts to build and we start to speed things up, that urge becomes so intense to pee, you just cannot ignore it. This is where you're going to push those PC muscles. You know when you do that forceful pee? Those exact same muscles, because what you're going to be doing is you are going to be taking all of that fluid that has been building up in those Skene's glands in the G zone area, and you are going to be excreting it. With that is going to come a blissful release. It is going to feel like magic. You are going to feel like you can breathe again and you can continue on, or you can just lay there and your little tiny puddle or your big ass puddle, whatever it is. But I want you to know that this is 100% normal for this to happen. If you squirt, you squirt. It's beautiful. It means you are just in an extreme state of relaxation. Now, if you don't squirt, that's also amazing too. A lot of the time we end up squirting and it's happening internally. It's not like how you see in adult entertainment where they have the freaking super soaker out and it's spraying across the room and there's like gallons and gallons coming out. Although if that does happen to you, bless. But if it doesn't, do not worry. Don't cast shame on yourself if it does happen or if it doesn't happen. Just step into your body and just let pleasure flow without any restrictions, without any shame, or without any judgment. Just release and let go. And I promise you, the journey will be so much more pleasurable. All right, babies, if you want to see a live demonstration on this, you're going to have to go check out Beducated. So click that link down below, access the website using the code PleasureBaby to get that 24-hour access, and you can get a live demonstration on this exact or these exact 3 techniques. And you can also dive into more videos where you get to see more visuals and learn more about yourself and more about your partner. So click that link down below, use the code PleasureBaby, and I will see you guys next week for another video. Comment down below what you want to see more of, because I'm going to start talking about healthy relationships, sex, and nervous system stuff, because this is the shit that gets me wet, and I don't really care anymore about just sticking to one topic, because we're talking about whatever I want to talk about in those categories. All right, babies, be blessed, stay happy, and I will see you next week.